Hello, welcome to 30 Minutes. I'm Rick Anthony. I have some disturbing statistics for you today that should alarm you, especially if you're a parent or grandparent. 1 in 3 high school seniors, 1 in 5 sophomores, and 1 in 10 8th graders report using illicit substances in the past 12 months, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse. By the time they're in 12th grade, 37% of teens have tried illicit drugs. That's alarming. I could spend the next 30 minutes reciting a litany of statistics about drug use and abuse among our nation's young people and the harrowing number of needless deaths caused by illicit drugs. But it all adds up to a nightmarish conclusion unless something is done dramatically to stop the flow of deadly drugs into this country, and unless we invest in preventive measures, the killing of millions of teenagers and young adults will continue, leaving grieving families wondering how it happened. My guest today, Brenda Schivito, knows the statistics all too well. Her 22-year-old son is among them. Brenda is founder of Angels Against Addiction, which she started in 2018, soon after the tragic death of her young son, Nick. As part of her campaign to increase awareness about addiction, Brenda is also producer and host of You're Not Alone, a program here on MLTV 21. Brenda, welcome.
Thank you so much, Rick. It's so nice to see you.
Thank
you.
You know, I contacted you after I saw the show you did with a young lady named Christina.
Right.
And I was surfing, frankly, and I caught the first minute or so of it, and I was stuck. That woman was a young woman. Was so, I didn't know what to think, because she seemed, on the one hand, composed. On the other hand, there was a level of anxiety and tenseness in her interview, because she was describing how she recovered after years.
Right.
And she described how alcoholism crept up on her in her early 20s. She got through college.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it hit her.
It hit her.
I watched it from beginning to end, and I saw it again when it was run again.
Right.
And I watched it with the same awe as I did before. So anyway, I wanted to contact Brenda. What's this all about? What's Angels Against Addiction about? So here we are. And then over the last few days, you and I talked on the phone, preparing for this interview. And as we talked, and as I was thinking about, okay, how do I structure this interview, it became quite apparent to me that the best approach was to stay out of your way, ask a few questions, and give you the opportunity to tell your story, because it is so compelling, and because it was the impetus for what you're doing today.
Yep.
Marvelous work.
Thank you.
So why don't we start with the beginning? Tell me about Nick.
Nick was quite a character. Nick was born and raised in Westchester, not far from here. Grew up with an older brother, John, and a silly black Labradoodle. And, you know, we were a happy, what I think, healthy, normal suburban family. And it wasn't until Nick got into his teen years that we started to see something. He was always with different education experts. He was getting tested. He learned differently. He had borderline personality issues. It was very gray areas regarding mental health and his ability, to learn. So a lot of kids have problems learning, issues learning. So fast forward, into his later teen years, he was no Einstein in school, but he managed to graduate high school. But he was displaying these behaviors of what now we come to know as being bipolar. Being bipolar is, it's like these highs and these lows of emotional health. And like so many young people, the experimenting with alcohol and marijuana, which are gateway drugs, started to be used and subsequently abused by Nick. And I look at that as it being a way of self-medicating. And try as we may, Nicholas would see addiction psychiatrists who would prescribe medications to try and corral this bipolarism. You know, it's not like what came first, the chicken or egg. The mental disposition was there.
Right.
And then to self-medicate was to make me feel normal. So the waters, to be honest, Rick, were very gray and they were very muddy, and not knowing where to go, like really who to turn to get some concrete answers. There's nothing concrete about mental health and addiction. It's very gray. So Nicholas had been, over the 22 years of his life, he had been admitted and released from, I want to say, 8 different rehab visits. And he just couldn't corral this, what I'll say very emphatically, this disease of addiction. He wasn't meant to be here living with this, because it was a demon he couldn't corral. So unfortunately, in January of 2018, Nicholas ingested, without his knowledge, an opioid that was off the street. And unbeknownst to him, it was laced with the deadly drug fentanyl, which we know today has become all too common in our society. We talk about it every day, but back in 2018, at that time, I didn't know really much about it. Nick didn't want to die. He just, he wanted to get high. And that was the tragedy. And, he was poisoned without his knowing. So,
was he still living home at the time?
He was living home at the time.
You say it was a drug off the street.
Mm-hmm. It was.
So he had a cellar.
Yes. And they were able to, Chester County Detective Unit was phenomenal. Through their investigation, they were able to identify where they think he got it. Mm-hmm. But prosecuting death by delivery is very difficult. But I want to tip my hat to them, because they were able, through different undercover deals with this individual, they were trying to get to the next level of distribution, which they were not able to. However, they did get this person on several different deals, and she was sent away to prison, I think, for state prison for like 3 years. But a death by delivery charge, to be honest with you, is very difficult, and it doesn't carry much more than 3 years, to be honest.
You said something earlier, and I've heard it from so many other people in connection with other illnesses and so on, but lack of information, not knowing where to go, who can help me. I know there must be something out there, but how do I get to it?
Right.
That is, I think, the worst part of being a caregiver.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Being a caregiver.
Right?
Yeah.
You know how hard it can be.
Yeah. It's so frustrating, one. And two, as you experienced as well, you go from one expert to another expert to another expert. And in my case, my wife finally said, I'm finished. I'm not going anymore.
It's exhausting. It's a full-time job.
Mostly frustrating. Yeah. She was a stubborn Italian.
Gee, I know what they're like. I'm married to one.
At any rate, I can empathize with the furor you must have also felt.
Frustration, because you know what, too, I'm not sure about what your wife dealt with, what you dealt with, but when it comes to mental health and addiction, it's still stigmatized. We still don't openly talk about it. I can sit here today and say, I'm not ashamed of Nicholas. I can say I was probably ashamed of some of his behaviors.
Sure.
Like I think we talked about, I could write a book, but it was the disease that did all these made him do these things and just corralled his brain. It was the disease of addiction. And when you talk about other diseases, I've said this many times, whether it's cancer, diabetes, these types of things, there's pardon me, open arms embracing you, trying to help you. There's no shame in seeking help for your child with these conditions. But when it comes to drug addiction, it's not something that I'm going to sit around having coffee with my girlfriend and say, oh, gee, you know, Nicholas is really having a problem and I don't know where to go because of the stigma. So that's been my mission.
Do you think that's as true today? Nicholas died in 2018.
Right.
Do you think it is as true today, the stigma that is?
I don't know.
As a society, we seem to be so forgiving, if that's the appropriate word, or accepting perhaps is a better word.
Right.
Accepting of all kinds of things around us now that what we would have before thought as aberrations,
Right.
behavioral aberrations. Now it's
Right.
just acceptable.
Is it? Because we've come up, you and myself.
Look,
you know, I was raised in a household where my father was.
Look at media, look at films, look at what's on television. What Nick went through is portrayed.
How accepting is it, though?
Well,
do you still think that it's? You think there's a bigger, broader population that's accepting it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, you know, I know I'm on the
I don't know. We're only talking about your opinion and my opinion.
Right.
But I guess I'm stricken by just how pervasive it is now, portrayed openly in our culture, whereas before it was, shh, don't talk about that.
Right.
Now it's out in the open.
Right. Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
Which on many levels is a good thing. Right?
Yes, at least we're talking about it.
Right.
Make more people aware of it.
Right.
Which is your mission.
Yes.
Make more people. Well, I think your mission is in two parts, as I understand it.
Yes.
One is to make more people aware. And so you speak and you write and you contact as many people as you can with Nick's story.
Right.
But the second, and perhaps more valuable, is the practical assistance you provide to people who are coming out of recovery, rehab, and into houses to help make the transition.
Right.
And the funding you provide.
Right.
I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm just playing back what you told me.
Yes, you're doing a good job.
That you provide to individuals who are eligible, and you decide what that means, for the financial assistance you provide.
Right.
How did this all evolve? How did the name evolve, Angels Against Addiction? Where did that come from?
You know what? I guess when you sit quietly and you just meditate on things, sometimes when you're quiet, answers will come. And I knew very quickly after we lost Nick that it wasn't over. I truly believe that there was another calling for Nick. And however anybody wants to interpret, you know, God, higher power, whatever, is their business. But for me, I just felt spiritually called and led to do this work by Nicholas. Because Nick was the kind of kid who would help anybody and everybody. Nick never discriminated. He knew what differences were because he dealt with them. He lived with differences. And you know, I could tell stories, a lot of stories about acts of kindness that Nick, you know, after he passed, I would hear so many random acts of kindness that Nick would do in his short life just to help somebody out. So that was part of the calling, and just, you know, trying to help the next person, the next person who would maybe struggle. And if out of these years that I've done this, if I only saved one, that would be enough for me. So the name Angels Against Addiction, well, it's from another place, another plane, whatever you want to believe that is. And yeah, Angels Against Addiction, it just made sense to me.
How soon after Nick's passing did you decide that you were going to start this initiative?
I'd say a couple of months. I mean, he passed in January, and I had been so fortunate to find a grief support group called For Jonathan's Sake. And this grief support group was designed for parents who've lost children. My friend Pam Moles, who I've befriended, has this wonderful grief group run by two qualified paid counselors. And they still are meeting now. And I got myself up to the church where they're meeting up in Phoenixville, and soon after that, I knew that this is what I was called to do. And so Angels Against Addiction was founded in June of that year. And it was like a pot of my friends who said, let's do this. let's raise money, let's have fundraisers. And
Was your mission clear from the outset? Did you know exactly what you wanted to do?
well, not exactly. I knew what I
Awareness
wanted to
and
do.
assistance?
I knew I wanted to raise awareness, and I wasn't sure how I was going to get that assistance out there. So, it's again by networking and meeting people and reaching out to different people in those communities. We were able to connect with different people in these housing communities, which we support 7 different recovery house networks in our region. And the mission is to raise awareness, to destigmatize the disease of addiction, and to provide financial assistance for those.
To raise awareness among teenagers, parents, and grandparents, because they're as important as parents, I think. Those 3 groups principally?
Anybody and anybody who would listen.
Well, each has to be approached differently, I would think. A slightly different message. Again, for parents, I would think, when you stand up and tell your story, they got to be shivering in their boots because they've got kids. They don't know what their kids are doing. They don't know where they are. They don't know who they're kind of hanging out with. And you're saying, could happen to you. You better be more vigilant.
It can happen
and most
to
parents
anybody.
don't know how to do that.
Right. Exactly.
And that's not an indictment of them.
Oh, no.
They just
no,
don't.
No, they don't have the tools. And again, it's the awareness. How much are the schools going to do and how much are the schools going to teach?
Yes.
I mean, a lot of this, again, has to fall on the parents as to be responsible agents. I don't feel as though a child is too young to start talking about proper medication dispensing, whether it's a liquid Tylenol or something for their toothache or whatever it is. I think those conversations can start with the youngest of children to make them aware that what's safe and how do we dispense it.
Are school districts doing that now? At least
I don't know.
that you're aware of?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I did have an opportunity to speak in a couple of high schools in our district, and then COVID hit. And then I haven't revisited that. I just remember going in and just talking about the jewel, like we talked about earlier, and fentanyl. And there weren't too many kids who knew what fentanyl was, and that at that point. I have not gone into the schools of recently.
No.
To be honest, I've used my church as a platform who have welcomed Nicholas's story. I mean, Nick was raised in the church I attend, and I don't have any barriers or any obstacles. So I've been able to get messages out through the church.
Again, based on our conversation, which I enjoyed. Thank you very much for giving me the time. You're an army of one. You have help, you have volunteers, and so on.
Yeah.
But you're pretty much on your own, right?
Yeah, I am.
Is that scary?
No.
No, is
No,
it
it's-
daunting in any way? I mean, it's a very important message, and you only have a very small megaphone.
Right.
You.
I know.
So we talked about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have plans to get a bigger megaphone, more people,
bigger mouth,
more,
maybe. Bigger
more
mouth.
organizations.
I don't know. I've thought about it, and with that, there's a lot more responsibility. Again, we're just a small grassroots nonprofit. I like just doing it the way that I do it. It's personal, and I just feel like I reach who I can reach.
Yeah, but there are so many other mothers like you who have similar stories.
Yes,
Who
there are.
I would guess would be willing, maybe even eager to join you
Right,
to tell their stories. It's all the same story,
right. Just the different names.
just different staging.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
I asked you as well. You're a 501c3, right? So
Yes.
you can accept donations.
Yes,
What you do requires some money.
right.
How do you raise money?
Well, we have a fundraiser. We had a fundraiser last fall. The structure of the fundraiser has been a dinner, a silent auction, a 50-50 raffle, and speaker. We have a speaker come in and speak to the audience about the importance of substance and the awareness of it. And we've done rather well. Again, to your point, I'm just a one person operation. I don't have an office with overhead, so I have very little cost that goes with what I do. So I'm able to fund people pretty directly, and it doesn't have to be spoken for with anybody else. So
and please understand, I'm not being critical of you for what you're doing the way you do it. It just seems to me, I have a corporate entrepreneurial background. I'm saying, boy, this thing could really be grown.
How do we do
bigger.
That? How do we do that, Rick?
Well, it's been done. You need others, obviously. And it may be something you don't want to do, as you discussed. As you said, it's very personal. It's a very personal message.
Right.
And as you also said, if you save one, that's enough.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And if that's the way you get up every morning, if I can save one more today, that's fine.
Exactly. And and it's we do get donations. I have a young boy who started an Angels Against Addiction club in his high school. And so over the last 4 years, he was able to have a tennis event every spring, mostly from his tennis team. And he raised, over the course of 4 years, he raised over $7,000, which was phenomenal. And I would love to see that grow, because then you have other soldiers out there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always fall on me. Yeah. Some people say,
and that's where the action is, with teenagers.
With young kids, exactly. So hopefully there'll be somebody who takes up the same baton over at Ruston, where Nick was a student. I'd like to see that happen, because the kids they're in the school. I don't have to be banging on the door trying to get in and make a difference, but the kids are there, which is great. So we get donations that way, and unfortunately, we get donations when a loved one has passed and they know of our organization. And then
tell me the process. You support rehab housing. So I come out of rehab. I want to be clean, but I have no family, no other support.
Right.
I knock on the door of a house. Then what happens?
Well, here's how it happens. If you are having an inpatient stay, typically it's 28 days, what insurance allows, which isn't always enough, but that's what is available. The caseworker in charge of your case would reach out to a particular house and say, do you have any beds for so-and-so? And they say yes. And then they say, well, this person has no means, he has no financial, he has no driver's license, he has nothing. Burned his relationships to the ground. So then they'll reach out to me. The caseworker will contact me.
There's no insurance to cover that.
There's no insurance to cover recovery houses
Under Medicaid,
that I'm aware.
Nothing?
Maybe there's houses with Medicaid.
No.
I'm dealing with I'll be dealing with people who don't even have that. I'm not sure about. I don't think the houses we support have Medicaid component, but you can't quote me. But these people need it now, and I think maybe if a house has Medicaid, they only allow so many beds. There's 20 beds, maybe there's only 2.
Sure.
Who knows the stipulations? But what I ask them to do is I ask them to fill out an application. I ask them to read about Nicholas on the website. It's really important, and I tell people this comes from a very profound place in my heart to do this, and this is what I tell the recipients. And I expect them to understand that this is a gift coming from Nick, and that you're being given another opportunity to live a clean life. And that is really important to me. Yeah. So after they've read his story, I asked them for a reflection, and I asked them to write a short essay. It doesn't have to be more than a couple paragraphs about themselves. And then they have to send me that email. So I'm holding them accountable at some level, and they're asking for help. And then I have a phone interview with them before they've left the rehab, talking to them about what we just discussed. And then from there, once they arrive at the house, they have to call me, let me know they arrived,
Right.
because sometimes they get detoured or they decide they change their mind and they don't end up at the house. And then they have to call me the second week. What we do is we'll scholarship people 2 weeks of housing. That gives them a chance to get on their feet, get settled, start looking for employment, get a job and start being productive in society and do what they need to do
You keep
to further the
records
journey.
of how many people make it?
Well, that's
How many
really,
of the people that you sponsor make it?
it's really tough. Somebody told me in the recovery community, it's like trying to catch mosquitoes in a cyclone fence. Keeping track of people's coming and going isn't always easy. I ask that they stay in touch with me, and I have them in my phone. And if I don't hear from them, I'll shoot them off a text. I'll try to reach out. Some respond that they've relapsed. Some don't respond. The managers at the house said, well, we asked them to leave because they relapsed. So they may have more accurate records than I do. But
How did Christina come to your attention? Because you didn't assist her.
no, I did not. Christina attended our fundraiser last year, and she was sitting with a table that had people in recovery. She was a guest of somebody at that table. And in her Christina way, she came up to me at the end of the event. She goes, I think what you're doing is so great. I want to help you. I want to be part of this. I want to do something. And she's just a ball of energy,
Yes.
as you could see. And I've actually got Christina, like you say, on my team to help me, get into other networks of places. She's very big with AA. AA takes precedence over her husband and her family. Because then if she's not clean,
It's her
she can't
lifeline.
be, it's her lifeline.
Yeah.
So she's very active in the recovery community. Great gal.
In preparation for our visit, I did a little research, and I came across a listing. I didn't count them, but these are contributory factors that can lead to addiction of one type or another. Drugs, alcohol. And the list goes on and on and on and on of environmental factors, congenital factors, neurological factors, and so on. So as a parent, or now a grandparent, I think, how can I possibly deal with all at once? How can I know how these things are affecting my child or grandchild? Knowing that, how can I defend against them? It's almost impossible. You mean you get up every morning, you pray, this is going to be a good day with my kid.
Right.
He's going to come home clean.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's so many stories. You've heard them many more than I. But I've heard stories of good kids who went to a party, a lot of stuff was going on, and somebody laced a Coke with fentanyl or something like that, and they dropped. They weren't addicted.
No, they didn't know. This is what I'm saying. The DEA, their slogan is, one pill can kill. And it's so true. Kids don't know what they're getting unless it's in a bottle with a prescription with their name on it. That's why I said it's so important. They don't know. Somebody could say, oh, here, you got a little anxiety. Oh, here's a Xanax that I have. Take one of these. Or they get stuff off of TikTok and Instagram, and it's being delivered to their dorms, their homes, and they don't know what they're getting. It's all black market. Rick, it is just so dangerous. I know things are all relative to the times, but right now, so much of the illicit drugs, you got to just know, or off the top of your head, it's probably laced with fentanyl. It's probably laced with fentanyl because everything out there seems to be laced with fentanyl.
Are you satisfied with whatever legislative initiatives have been taken at the state and local level, state and federal level, to deal with this problem?
Well, here's how I feel about it.
And can legislation deal with this problem?
Well, I think they're trying. They are trying. I never want to downtrod on lawmakers or politicians who are trying to make a difference. And I think that there has been a difference. We have seen a bit of a downturn in opioid overdose deaths. And I think that's attributed maybe to what's going on, again, with the awareness. parents like myself who are outraged on some levels and are, calling awareness to what happened to their child and to Narcan. I mean, I never leave home without Narcan. And this is a life-saving Narcan.
N-A-R-C-A-N.
Narcan. It goes by Narcan. That's the brand name. It's called naloxone.
Is it prescription or is it over the counter?
It can be a prescription, but you can get this over the counter. And as a result of the opioid settlement through Purdue Pharma, I do hold the Sackler family and Purdue Pharma highly accountable for what happened with the opioid crisis that we're in now. But as a result of that, there's been a lot of funding for programs in our communities and for the availability of Narcan. And I do believe that this has helped contribute to the downturn because this can save a life. And I think that's really important. And we're always going to have substance of some sort. But like Mothers Against Driving, we need to teach our children and
if we're going to make up a list of those who are culpable, what about the medical profession who are too quick, too easy to prescribe painkillers and other drugs to deal with physical or emotional or mental illness?
Well, back when, and what I learned about the opioid was that it was being touted by the drug companies as not addictive. The doctors only know what the drug companies are selling, that what they tell them. They're not. I don't know that doctors are doing the research themselves, and I don't want to directly blame doctors.
Why not?
In the beginning, well, in the beginning of it, I don't think they knew. I don't think they knew, but. Of course, now, I could remember when my older son had a hockey injury. He was airlifted down to CHOP. He had a ruptured spleen. It wasn't life-threatening. He didn't need surgery. However, coming home from CHOP, they gave him a bottle of Oxys. And you know what he said to me? I gave him, I did give him some. He had pain. And he says to me, Mom, and then I stopped it. This was before Nicholas's passing, but I stopped giving him those opioids. And I said, let's try some Motrin, John. I don't really like you taking all this. And he said, he'll say today, he goes, Mom, if you didn't stop that, I could have easily gone down the rabbit hole with this addiction. So to your point, yes, I don't feel like when they were prescribing kids these oxys for having their wisdom teeth pulled, or like you said, to the sports injuries, some of them, I think they've become more mindful today with the opioids.
I hope so.
With the opioids. I think there's more restrictions about it.
Well, as you know from your own show, which is You Are Not Alone here on NLTV 21, we've run out of time.
No. Oh, no.
I
30 minutes, it
so
goes
impressed
so quick.
With the work you do.
Thank you.
Impressed with the interview that you did with Christina, and so impressed with her.
Yeah.
I mean, if she's the poster girl for rehabilitation,
she is.
God bless her.
Yeah,
And
recovery is possible. Thank you so much.
Brenda,
thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's been such a pleasure, Rick. Thank you.
My guest today has been Brenda Schivito, who is the founder of Angels Against Addiction. If you'd like more information, you can go to angelsagainstaddiction.org. Until next time, this is 30 Minutes. I'm Rick Anthony. Take very good care of yourselves.